Hi, everybody. I'm Big Northern Bear. For those of you who are new to watching this, I'm here with my friend Jane at Jane's Rain Story. Do I have that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, Jane's Rain. So Jane is a resident of Australia. I'm a registrant. I live in Ontario, Canada, and we both actually have astrocytoma brain tumors. They're different types of brain tumors. Different grades. Mine's grade 3, and I believe Jane, you're grade 4. So this video, just so you know what you're getting into, is going to go on a bit, and we're going to split it into 2 parts. Part 2 will be linked on Jane's channel. We'll pin it at the top comment. We'll put an end card you can easily click on to watch the second half. And I think Jane, we both agree we really want to reach those people who have maybe just discovered they've got an astrocytoma. And
Yes.
so do you know the full name of yours?
All I know is astrocytoma stage 4. That's all I've been told. What about you?
Yeah, pleomorphic xanthroastrocytoma grade 3. It's a very, very rare, like it's the rarest of the rare tumors, apparently. It's usually juvenile tumor. Yeah, so it's but it's still an astrocytoma at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I actually wonder, sorry, interrupting. I wonder what an astrocytoma is, because my husband reminded me that I was told this so often happens when you're getting treated. You don't take in information from the doctors very well because it's very stressful. And he said an astrocytoma means that it's not malignant. Is that right? So it's just in your brain.
Well, malignant in that it won't spread from your brain to other areas. Yeah.
Yes.
So grade 4 refers to how fast it's growing. When they put it under the microscope, they can see how many cells are dividing in 1 square inch, and that determines the grade. And
right.
So grade 4 is going to grow faster than a grade 3 without treatment. Say if there's no treatment at all. So so mine's grade 3, which is moderate, which because my cancer is so rare, it's really hard to get a prognosis. Like nobody will tell me what the expected lifespan is, and there's no standard of care, and there's no drug studies on my cancer. So we're really winging it. But somehow you and I ended up getting the same courses of treatments, I think.
Yes, we did.
So, Jane, we both took the same radiation and drug, and we've had such different outcomes. So and when I came across your channel and saw you living so well, it really inspired me, like, to want a piece of that for myself. So maybe you can just share, for 2 minutes, what it was like, diagnosis through that first round of treatment and the treatment since.
Well, I think we also connected to do with a ketogenic therapeutic diet. So I think that was a big thing. And I was looking back on my emails with you this morning, and the first time you ever emailed me was the 27th of November. So we've been doing this a while, and it's truly been a blessing to have connected with you. I didn't know how different astrocytomas were. I didn't know there were these different varieties. So my personal journey was that on the 4th of August, I had my astrocytoma removed by a really good surgeon. 3 days before that, I was diagnosed. So it was very quick, grade 4, very quick. And I didn't really have options. I either got it out that day or that's a Friday, or on the Monday, or I was cooked, is what I can understand. I've also been told that I will die of this. So that's sobering, to say the least. So we'd already started on a sort of a healthy ketogenic plan, not to do with cancer, but I really kicked it up a gear when I realized I had the cancer. So then, anyway, same as you, I had, after the surgery, I had time for recovery. Then 6 weeks later, I think it was, went through a daily chemo pill, temozolomide dose for a further, I think, 6 weeks. And then as well as 5 days a week of radiation. So straight into the brain, obviously.
Right.
Actually, I don't think I had a 6-week break. I think it was slightly less between the operation and that first stage. Anyway, so after that, I had a 4-week holiday, which I made into 5 weeks because I was this close to not doing the next round. So the next round of a therapy was just the chemo pills, but I think it was like 1.5 times the dose, 330 milligrams. And that was a different sort of, what's the word? Like, so basically, for 5 days of each month, I had 330 milligrams, the first of each month for 6 months. And yeah, so a different protocol, I guess you could say. So that I really felt the effects of that. So then about could be a 4th of May, that was my very last pill. So now it's what, the 7th of June, July, isn't it? And so that's how long I've been off the pills, and I do feel good, but I don't forget anyone ever saying to me, do your bucket list, because you're going to die of this, because you can sort of be as healthy as you want, but that thought will always sort of come back. And I want to link that in later when we briefly touch on the MRIs, because that's affected how I go with seeing my MRI results. Anyway, that's my story.
When I first met my oncology team, the very first thing they felt it important to tell me was that they met all morning and they've all agreed they can't give me a prognosis.
Yeah.
Because of how rare my cancer is. And so, I mean, to say I was disappointed, it would be a lie. And in some ways, because it was like, okay, so it's kind of like, you're in the casino. Am I going to win all night or lose all night? Have no clue, right? So I kind of felt a bit like that. So I'm thinking, what I tried to hear is, so there's a chance I can beat this thing. Right? I mean, that's what I wanted to, that's what I told myself at the time. And I really felt at the time like I was right in there with the, I'm going to go keto and I'm going to do the radiation that they want me to do. And with the simultaneous chemotherapy. And the thought was, let's just open both barrels on the gun right away and just blast the crap out of it. Now that they've done the surgery and got most of it out, let's just throw everything we have at the rest, And so I had the craniotomy, and you also had the craniotomy, which was, I hope to never have to have again. But I got to say, out of all the treatments, that's the one I'd be most likely to do again. So, yeah, out of all my treatments. So it's been, and every MRI I've had since, it's like inconclusive. So I've gone through all this treatment. I don't know if it's helped at all. Like, I have no clue if it's helped. Very frustrating, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, we call it scanxiety, right? Sitting between the scans. And what's your approach to, what is a few days before an MRI like for you? And then you've got it done and now you're waiting for the results. What is that like for you?
Well, my medical oncologist, the woman who has dosed me with all my chemo and who gives me my scan results, I don't have a great connection with her. I don't find her bedside manner is not very good at all, frankly. So that doesn't help. It's amazing how unhelpful that is. So adding that onto the fact that I have to see her every 3 months now, and I used to have to see her every month, I suddenly got to a point where I thought, I can't see you anymore. This is not going to work for me. I'd rather not not get the scans. That's, you know, sometimes things have to get to this point where you're willing to risk your life not to do something. And I don't ever want to see her again. So I went to my GP, and just a small note on GPs. They have an incredible amount of power, more power than you would think. And if you can get a good one, they have all this wonderful experience. And they can give you little snippets of information that can really help you, that you never see coming, just because they've had all this wealth of experience. And so he, and this is how it obviously works in Queensland, in Australia, he contacted the radiation department and urgent to say exactly what I just said. Jane wants to change her medical oncologist. And I'm also in the public system, so I had some silly idea that I was obliged to this doctor, my oncologist, and I'm actually not. It's not. She gets paid very well, I'm sure, and I'm sure she earns it, but I can't do it anymore. So that comforted me. Going back to how I was with this particular last scan, which was a number of weeks ago now, and it was a 3-month scan. I was called. We wait in the room outside with all these many patients. I get called in by the oncologist, and I told my husband to wait, to not come in, because another thing she did was she would sort of communicate with him if she felt that I didn't understand. And I know she thought she was doing the right thing, but it was actually very insulting to me. That's how I was taking it. Whether she meant it that way, I'm sure she didn't. Anyway, so before we went in the room, I said, I don't want the scan up on the screen because I have no intention of seeing the scan. She goes, oh, okay. No, it's not on the screen. So I go in and I say, all I want to know is there anything I need to know? And she goes, well, we'll see you in 3 months. I said, thank you. And she said, I'll write a note that if the next time you come in, I'm not here and it's one of the interns, that Jane does not want to see the scan. And I said, thank you. Bye. And so that's that. And so here I am. And I don't know, because the thing is, the previous scan to that, and I had my husband in there and my parents, and it came up on the screen and everyone's looking. There's this white squiggle and there's what's probably radiation inflammation. It's all fuzzy around where the tumor was. And the white squiggle could be that. There's the hole where my tumor was. And my father says, and it's fine that he said that. Is that going to fill in? No, that'll always be there. So I'll never forget that. And I guess I'm just thinking, and my husband's helping with this, what can you do about it if you see it? You know, so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to say, is there anything I need to know? Are you going to suggest if I don't get more of this or that treatment, I am going to affect my health?
Yeah.
That's the only thing I want to know. And I'm very fortunate, actually, because I feel healthy. I look healthy. I'm no doctor. I can't say it's because of the exercise, the strength training, the low carb diet, all of this sort of stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised if that has a profound effect on how I feel. And the final note on that is it gives me agency and it makes me feel strong and it makes me feel empowered. And I feel that even that alone is so helpful, so helpful. And so now I can push on. I can push on. Whereas, yeah, anyway.
I know that feeling, like I weigh all my food. I'm really precise because I really need to feel like I'm doing everything I can.
Yeah.
You know, and I was big fan of ketogenic diet when I was in my 40s. I was full carnivore. I was running half marathons, looking nothing like I do today. This whole weight gain is all from the steroids for cancer.
Yeah.
So, but part of what bugs me about, the keto for cancer crowd, I'll be honest, and I'm sure there's going to be people in the comments lighting up when I say this, but a lot of what they say is simply not true. And the thing I'm going to point out is anyone watching this, I just want you to have a realistic understanding that my opinion is that you do a ketogenic diet if it's making you healthier and if it's making you stronger, that can only help you both with your cancer treatment and with fighting your cancer just by being healthier in general, having good controlled blood pressure and blood sugar. How can that not help you, right? And sort of like you said, having muscle is always good. Having fat is always bad, right? So having a good diet that makes you healthy in general is going to help your cancer treatment, help you feel better. But will it cure your cancer? I don't know. But one of the things I heard a lot is cancer can't feed on ketones. This is not true. There's several types of cancers that if you starve them of glucose, they switch to ketones quite happily. Because we got to remember our cancer cells are made up of our cells. Our astrocytoma is made up of our astrocytes. Our astrocytes can use ketones. They can use ketones, right? Glioblastomas are made up of glial cells. They can use ketones. So, and the one thing about cancer is it evolves so fast, like it's evolution in a bottle.
Yeah.
And if you starve it of one thing, it'll switch to glutamate. You starve it of glutamate, it switches to arginine. So it can work its way around. So avoid all the big promises. My big red flag is, and I get a lot of cancer cures in my comments, is that if you're looking at cancer as one disease with one treatment, you're looking at it all wrong. Cancer is 1,000 different diseases, and me and you could have the exact same cancer with totally different genetics in the tumor and reacts totally differently to medication and diet, even though it's the exact same cancer. So be wary of the advice. This is the surefire cure for just cancer, because there's no such thing as just cancer. And so that's something that sort of always bugged me a bit when I started the channel. And I know it comes from a good place. Everyone wants to, hey, I heard this worked and I saw this, Dr. Thomas guy, and he's very passionate. He is a very convincing man to speak to. But again, I mean, he's very excited. I really believe he believes everything he says, but I don't think he has quite the evidence.
He does say that the research is still in an infancy, and I believe it. And just a little Dr. Thomas Seyfried story from me. He wrote a book that was, I think I put it in one of my videos. It's a textbook, basically. I don't know what's in it. It's got all these numbers and maths equations and things in it. And we were in sort of already kind of following his progress before I got cancer, ironically. And he says that you should starve cancer. You should immediately starve cancer if you get cancer, and that radiation is bad and that chemo is bad and it'll kill you. So you can read him that way. So that's the way I sort of thought of it. And then I got cancer. So I nearly didn't get my operation, my surgery, because I thought that, I was thinking that, but since the surgery, I've watched more of him, and I've realized he's saying that debunking, as they say, debulking of the tumor is probably is usually a good thing. Mine was stage 4, hugely fast growing. So I would be dead now if I hadn't had that basic surgery. But he was just questioning radiation and chemo treatment, and I still question that to this day. But I'm starting to think, and you might agree with me, Danny, that radiation can also be good. It can also be harmful. But chemo, like temozolomide, really, there you're going into an area that is probably open to way more research, as your experiences have shown with your chemo.
There's temozolomide took something like $1 billion to do all the studies on it and develop that drug. So, I mean, in Canada, I got to look at when they build the insurance company, and I worked out that during my radiation, my temozolomide was probably about 1,000 Canadian a day. So fortunately, we have a plan in Ontario that helps you with that. Or I don't know how if someone doesn't have coverage, how they could ever do temozolomide without some charity helping or whatever. But
yeah,
the temozolomide for most brain cancers increases the odds by 20%. So that's nothing to sniff at. So when I hear people just put it down, I really think you need to go look and make a really good informed choice, because I'm pretty sure apricot seeds don't increase your chances 20%. So like really, let's really look at it. And also, for the new brain cancer folks or any cancer, you got to realize as soon as you got your diagnosis, everything now is a trade-off. Everything now is a balancing between the possible harm and the possible good. And really, you can only guess at what each side is going to be. You can only guess. And like, that's why it sucks so much for you that you don't like your oncologist and you don't feel that trust that I have with my team. One thing I have is a great, wonderful team of 3 oncologists and a neurologist oncologist who specializes in brain tumors. And I feel so fortunate when I hear you talk about your experience.
Yeah.
And I'm under a public healthcare system too, and we really don't get a choice. You get assigned a team, that's it. You can't leave your doctor because you don't like them here. It just doesn't happen. So you might be able to with your family GP. If a new one opens up, you might be able to move to them. But
apparently I can, according to my GP. But I'm at the point where if I can't, I won't go.
Just have your GP give you the results.
Exactly. But then I don't necessarily want to put that on him, because he said from the beginning, because he was the one who told me that I had the cancer. He got the scan back and he had to tell me. And he said a number of times, I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm not qualified, that sort of thing. So I'm hesitant to do that. But I'm not worried anymore, because this is how important it is to get the right doctor, if you can, the right oncologist, because I'm willing to sacrifice knowledge about my cancer to never see that doctor again. And that makes me happy. So, yeah.
And really, I mean, that's a good decision for you, but if 100 people follow that course, a few of them, and that's going to disserve them. So, I mean, if there's an oncologist listening, I mean, your bedside manner matters just so much. You have no idea. Even if we're not in bed when we see you.
Yes.
Like, it just matters so much that you build that trust. And, and I think the best way they can build trust is just to listen to your concerns and take them seriously and address them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I really think if you find an oncologist doing that, stick with that one.
Mm-hmm.
It makes a huge difference. I mean, I actually look forward to seeing my doctors. It's nice to see them.
That's great.
Yeah.
I have some I look forward to.
I don't look forward sometimes to the test, but I look forward to seeing my docs. So that's wonderful. Okay. So we had a sort of a checklist of stuff we want to at least gloss over. So Jane, I'd like you to select the first topic.
Okay. I would like to select the mental game.
Okay. So tell me what you mean by that.
So how do you get yourself through this mentally? What, techniques you might have, low times you've had, surprising good times you've had. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. For me, that's an easy one.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, is faith in God.
Yeah.
I had a religious experience at the start of this. And so I really have a high level of faith, and I really feel like God is with me. And the prayer I say all the time is, God, make me strong enough to be an example as I walk your path, whether you choose to reveal it to me or not.
Yes.
And that's my attitude. And I've just sort of offshored some of my trust into God. And it's sort of like, don't tell me the scans. I'm just taking that trust and giving it to God. And so that does help me quite a bit. And the fact is, when I called the priest at the local Catholic church and I told them what happened in the hospital, first he believed me. First of all, he believed me. And they've been so supportive. And within a matter of, let's say 3 months now, I've had my first confession. I had a 40 years of sins to confess. And I just had my confirmation, and now I'm a full member of the Catholic Church again, because I felt God was telling me you have to go get right with the church, not just with me. So I went and did that.
Yeah.
And they've been so wonderful and supportive. So it's so great to have that spiritual support. And then I have my wonderful wife, Lisa, who I have to say she's sort of like the reality check a lot of the times, even though that makes me argue with her a bit. And she's in this really terrible place where at home she has to advocate for the doctors, and at the hospital she has to advocate for me, right? Because I don't want to take this pill today. I want to go down on, say, maybe you shouldn't do that. You still have some brain swelling. You probably shouldn't go down on your dex today. Right. So and then I'll argue with her a bit because, since my brain tumor, I find that, and the meds I'm on, I'm a little more argumentative than I used to be. Although she says I was always this way. So, so
I think I defer to her judgment.
And part of it was when I set up my strength exercise bands, on the days I feel like crap are the days I really make myself do them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like if I can make myself do the hard thing on a crappy day, then I feel better about myself, and the rest of the day is not so bad. So, and like you said, taking control of your diet, control what you can reasonably control. Trust to God what you can't, or trust to whatever. Trust to your husband, your spouse, your family, to the universe, whatever that you can't. So that's my mental game strategy. So I would love to hear yours.
Well, on the God thing, I pray throughout the day, and I pretty much just use 2 words. It's like, use me. I don't know what's going on. Just like whatever I'm going through, just use it. And thanking God for what I'm going through, even though it's bad, because I know that it will be useful. He will use it. So that's it. I haven't joined the church. I went to a church school, and it was painful, like the chapel and the church and all that stuff I didn't gel with it. And my family isn't religious, but it's just use me because I don't know what's going on. And another thing is, obviously my husband is strong, and like Lisa, he will advocate for the doctors at home and advocate for me in the with the doctors. So, and I like the way you put that, because I never thought of it that way, that he does do that. And it's a tough job. It's a very tough job for the carers, because I'd rather be suffering from it than caring for someone with it. That's how tough I think it is. And what else?
I think I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think I agree with that. Yeah, it looks like, I think I feel bad for Lisa as much as she does for me. So I agree with that.
And you can't swap realities. Today I've got the cancer and you're the carer. You're just stuck with your thing. So and another thing, like you were saying, with the gym and the exercise and the diet, but even more so, I think the exercise and the strength exercise is, I've decided that no matter how I feel, I can feel it and think it and be at the end of my tether and thinking like, why am I even here? But just go to the gym anyway. I don't care if I'm depressed, doesn't matter. Just go to the gym. And, there is a point where the pheromones or whatever pick up and you feel stronger, and you may not feel elated, but you do feel like you've done something, and it just takes the edge off the existential dread that we're so often dealing with. So I think between some higher power, lifestyle, and people, this is the key, people like yourself, and I've just been to my second brain tumor support group meeting. Those things elevate me so much, and they inform me. Like, even with this conversation with you, I've learned so much about astrocytomas, and I've got one which I didn't know. And at this meeting we go to, there are carers and sufferers, and they are just filling me in with so much information. And I really get so excited by that and happy. And you also get to see what people are really going through. Like, you know, you talk about not getting a prognosis, but you go to these meetings and you've got people 10 years in and they said, I wouldn't last a year. And they say, I don't know why. And some of them are in a wheelchair, but the thing is, they seem the worst problems often that they can have, and it's not to make light of, but memory, a little bit of a speech impediment, but so many of them are so switched on. And you sort of have to be when you're suffering from a brain tumor, if you've had a brain tumor, because you've got so much information to take in, so many words you've never heard of before, and so many massive life decisions to make that your brain doesn't get a chance to just sort of melt into itself.
You have to decide in a hurry half the time.
Yes.
There's no time. There's no spending 2 weeks to think it over. Like,
yeah. And you have to be strong. So if someone says I wouldn't recommend that, and you decide you want to do it, then you've got to dig so deep. And no one else's, it's your life on the line. It is completely fine for you to decide anything on your life. End of story.
Yeah. The final decision needs to be yours. And if anyone's making you feel guilty about that, then you need to have a heart-to-heart with them and say, you know, just to be fair, you just don't understand what a day in my life is like. You just haven't a clue.
Yeah.
So, I guess I'm again so lucky to have Lisa because, in a way, like you know, I've had seizures and you haven't. So that sort of mandated that Lisa had to leave her job so she could be at home with me. So she's really seen, you know, how low I can be and how bad it can get. So I've never had to explain it to her on that level. So she gets it when I'm like, no, I just can't take this fucking pill today.
Yeah.
No, she gets it, right? So, and this shirt she made for me on my last day of radiation when I rang the bell.
Fantastic.
So, I just love this shirt. So I thought I'd wear it today. Haven't worn it since February 12th when we rang the bell.
I saw that video. It was a tearjerker.
Such a great feeling ringing that.
Yeah.
So,
do you want to pick a point that we can discuss?
I do. And I said we're not going to make the whole thing about the keto diet, but I'm just going to say I don't do keto for cancer. I do keto with cancer.
Yeah.
Because keto definitely has a huge evidence base for preventing seizures. And I have two types of seizures. I have lesional epilepsy, which is caused by radiation scarring or maybe the tumor itself in the brain. So there's like a physical pressure that can cause that. And I have pseudo seizures, which are caused by anxiety or, what they call psychogenic. They might call it that. So that's why I don't like to discuss my seizures, because discussing them can actually trigger one. So I am on anxiety meds, and I actually took half a Valium before this meeting because I know I'd have to talk a little bit about it. So I don't really. I mean, I had my first one on a live stream on my other channel. I had my first one. So 80 people were watching and saw it happen. So so it was, and I had my last one on a Friday night. My MRI results came into my phone app, and I went and read them without my doctor, and I had a seizure 5 minutes later because it sounded so horrible. And then when I talked to my doctor, it was like, no, it's inconclusive. I mean, you're jumping to conclusions. So I gave myself a big seizure for
no reason.
Yeah. So I'm up till then, I thought my neurologist was crazy. Like, I don't have anxiety triggering seizures and muscle spasms, but that night it proved it to me that, I mean, there's no way that was a coincidence that I read this MRI and then I have a seizure like 5 minutes later. So yeah, for sure. I have some of them triggered by anxiety, and it's represented such a big loss of freedom to me, because I used to walk 5 miles a day. 30 days after my craniotomy, I was walking 5 miles a day. I was in such great shape. I was in better shape before the craniotomy, and I was in great freaking shape then. So I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. So that's why I mean. So I know. I mean, we've gotten into the diet, and so I've just talked about my diet, but I would love to hear about your fitness as the diet and fitness portion, because I see you doing like snorkeling and weight training, and as far as I know, you're skydiving.
No, probably not going to do that unless I get a really, really bad prognosis. I'll be like, oh,
Okay.
I'm going to go down. So just the fitness is the gym. I used to go to the gym a number of years ago, and then I stopped for a few years before I got my diagnosis. And then Jason said, another good thing for partners, he said, get back to the gym, we'll get back to the gym. And he sort of, well, I wouldn't say he pressured me. I was happy to do it, but I was really glad because and I think because I'm lean too, you can tell a bit more, but I have got a lot more muscle strength, and it gives me, it's not, it's not exciting, but you put your earbuds in and you listen to something, podcast, music. But even when I don't want to rely on that, so that's what I was saying before about you go no matter what. And sometimes there were months where I haven't been able to listen to any music. I used to love it, but now I'm like, it just depresses me. It's not even touching me. It's not working in my brain. I am so concerned and worried and anxious that the music is just it's not lifting me up. So if occasionally now I start to feel elevated by music again, my favorite songs, I'm like, yes, I'm gonna really indulge because this is great, and it makes me feel good. It makes me forget about the cancer and the worries. So I go with that. I'll go for walks, and if I want to listen to music, I'll sort of almost be dancing. And I also listen to a lot of podcasts, and that's a big good thing about this day and age is that you can listen to these people. You can go down your own rabbit holes. I could go down a plant-based rabbit hole if I wanted. I could go down a carnivore rabbit hole. And I realized that the more you go down a certain path on, YouTube, the more stuff gets thrown up at you. So you sort of get like confidence in your own point of view. So I have been trying to sort of look up other points of view as well. But anyway, so the exercise. So I'm just finding, and I'm reading a lot about, particularly as you age, and again, let's forget the cancer. As you age, strength, core strength, muscle strength, helps you age a lot slower. That's a really powerful thing. And I'm hoping, and it's a very new science, but I'm hoping that in 20 years' time, we'll get, 100-year-olds who are really, they'll drop dead one day, but they drop dead fully, without any long-lasting, modern diseases of society. So yes, I'm rambling now, but I just feel better for the muscle exercises. Are you sort of, how are you going with the exercise right now? Where are you at?
I mean, for me, it's extremely frustrating because I was a regional gold medal powerlifter and I was on track for competing in the nationals. And, I was deadlifting 535 pounds, bench pressing 350 pounds, and, squatting 405. And that's like during competition where they're judging your form so that you're not cheating it, right? And so the cancer hit, and I went through the radiation and chemo, and after that, I started my strength. Sorry, I get a little mixed up sometimes. So at the start of radiation, at the very start, day 3, let's say I started a Friday for some reason. Saturday, I was at the gym and I was doing very light weights, bench press, squats, virtually like bench press 45 pounds when I can do 345. Like I was doing very lightweight, just wanted the movement and the muscles, and I knew as soon after my craniotomy, and he said, not to do anything that's going to create pressure in your head. So I really tried not to. And then the next day I got my first seizure. So I've been very careful since. So I started with rubber bands. They said rubber bands don't create the pressure. So I started with a 9-pound rubber band. Okay. I could pick up 535 pounds. I'm here with a 9-pound rubber band after radiation and temozolomide after that finished. And I'm like huffing and puffing, just doing like bicep curls with this thing and shoulder work. And now I've gone up like 3 or 4 band thicknesses, and I'm really noticing the difference in stuff like having to get out of the recliner chair, because thanks to the steroids, I've gained so much weight. A lot of the stuff that was easy before is now difficult. And I do have deficits because my tumors in my, what they call the premotor cortex. So it affects my movement a bit. I'm a little bit Michael J. Fox in some of my stuff. So my left side is more affected than my right. So when I go to lift my leg to put it in my truck and climb in my truck, my left leg goes in first, because we drive on the right side of the road here. And so my left leg goes in first, but it always gets caught. So part of my exercise is I lift my knee up as high as I can, hold it for a 3 count. And so I'll do stuff with my exercises that addresses the difficulties I'm experiencing. And I'll do balance, where I balance on one leg for 20 seconds and I'll like swing the other leg around and try to do stuff to destabilize myself. I'll do that with both legs. I'll do that a few times a day. So I've made sort of the stuff that gives me a hard time in life as an exercise. So sometimes I have trouble getting out of the recliner. So now I go sit in a chair and I stand up 10 times and sit down 10 times as part of my routine. And like just these things, after a few weeks, you'd be shocked at how much more you can do for yourself.
Yeah,
you'd be shocked. Like, I mean, I not to get, for a man who was like, gold medal powerlifter, was running 5 and 10 Ks. It was really hard for me to suddenly have to depend on someone else to help me get my shorts on, to help me get dressed in the morning. It was really hard to ask for someone to have to handle that for me. Like I felt like the old me had already died.
Yeah.
Like I felt like that guy, I knew that I really liked that guy. And I felt like he had died. And, after months and months on the dexamethasone, and I mean, this is a long story there, but the steroids turned me into this Stay Puft Marshmallow Man you see now. So that for me was as a man with an ego that I had, it was that's been a mental game. That's been very difficult. So I've lost my identity and it's been replaced with something else. I don't recognize myself, and that's tough. So so and part of the exercise I really wanted to get to, though, was if you're actually looking for something with an evidence base that helps all cancer, exercise is probably the only thing that helps all cancers. It'll help make your treatment more successful, and it'll help you feel better during your treatment. So definitely do whatever exercise you can. Don't even, So I would say highly recommend it. And if you're put on a steroid like I am, it will slowly rot your muscles unless you are exercising. You will just get weaker and weaker and older 10 times faster than you otherwise would. So really do some strength. Get out there and do some walks. You move it or lose it. It's on the steroids happens so much faster. So I really feel like since I started doing the rubber bands, my strength loss has completely stopped and it's reversed. So
that's great.
There's a lesson to take home. So that's okay. Your turn to choose. I mean, we're not on a time limit here, folks. You can watch as long as you want. Continue it later. Just bookmark it and come back to us. So,
well, I think you've touched on it, but side effects of treatment. So I'll talk about mine a bit.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So the operation was, in hindsight, the least negative experience I've had. So I quickly got off the meds. They obviously, you have to take different medications directly after you've had a craniotomy, and they wean you off, and I was determined to wean off, and I did. And I got lucky again because I didn't have any seizures, so I got off those in well in time to start my first lot of chemo and my radiation. The side effects from that first smaller dose of chemo and the radiation were, I did get eventually towards the end, I got chemo rash, but I managed to clear that up quite quickly. I lost my hair, a lot of my hair, and I got a really burny forehead towards the end. It took towards like the last few weeks for these things to really show up.
A really bad sunburn?
Really bad sunburn. I thought, Jesus Christ, I've lost one cancer. Now I'm going to get like skin cancer. Anyway, and what else happened? Yeah, just towards the end, I mean, like such tiredness. And I think a part of that was also being shipped in every day to the hospital, every day or 5 days a week to the hospital. And just the stress of the whole thing. I had my parents staying in the house, the incredible stress of of the thought of what I was going through. So that was that affected everyone in my life that close to me, because anyway, so then I got like 5 weeks break, and then it was quite different for that second lot of temozolomide, the higher dose, and progressively each month I would have slightly different and elevated symptoms to the previous month. So the chemo builds up in your system, and about 3 or 4 months in, I was told, okay, well, your white blood count's now low. And I thought, wow, this is great. And so I had to start on an antibiotic, and I took that for the rest of the treatment, sort of like 2 days a week. Didn't catch anything, so that was good. But yeah, so after each 5 days, there'd be a certain amount of time where I was just broken, and I couldn't. And then I'd slowly get better, and I'd hit a peak of fitness before the next round for 5 days, and then I'd slowly go downhill. Then I'd build up again, and that's where your exercise comes into incredibly much, because I was building up strength so that my body could stay healthier than if I hadn't done that. So I had all this sort of muscle and health and that exercise brings you to just get me through. And I knew after I'd done that a few times, after a few sessions of the 5 days, I had confidence that I could do it again. And that helps, doesn't it? If you've done something and you've recovered from it once, then it's a really, really good mental game. So yeah, that is, I think, mostly
call that your win bank. Every time you get a win, you're putting a deposit in your win bank, and the fuller that bank gets, the more confident you are to continue, and the more motivated you are to continue. So
yeah, and you don't get that hopelessness of I'm done, because it's like, well, no, I did this before, so and the lack of hope. I honestly think that if you lose hope, you lose your life. When you're looking at life-threatening things, hope is the last thing to go, and then you're out. That's my opinion on that.
I guess I'm a little bit different than you in that regard, but as far as hope, because I'm not sure when I tell people this if they believe me or not, but like, I am not afraid to die. I'm really not. I feel like in my life I've just done all these wonderful things, and I'm really grateful for the life I've had. I'm not afraid for it to end. What I am afraid is that the last 6 months to a year are just going to be hell, where
Yep.
I could have taken that time and invested it in my family or invested it in something that is worthwhile doing, because I guess watching my dad die of cancer took 2 years for him to sort of waste away in front of us. He did everything the doctors told him because he wanted to be around for us. We were young kids. So he did everything the doctors told him. But I'm quite sure if he could do it over, he would have just spent a year with us, just living whatever he could instead of 2 years in treatment, because it didn't extend his life one day, in our opinion. He went through all that. It didn't. He had a 2-year prognosis. He was dead in 2 years, despite doing all the treatment. And so, I take some of my lesson from that. But it's really odd. I tell people I'm not afraid to die. Even my doctors are like, I can tell they sort of blink when I say that. But what I'm afraid is that every day until then is going to be hell.
I agree totally, because that is the experience, and not only for yourself, but for the people who love you. It's going to be hell. And so you sort of I have this aim of being relatively healthy up until the end. That's a big aim for someone in my position. But I filled out all the forms. We did our wills. We filled out a form, the name of which I can never recall, which says an end of life form saying that no one else can make your decision for you. This is what you want your end of life to look like if you can no longer articulate what you want. And so I've done that over here. And so that was good as well. But I don't want to get to that point. That's not because, yay. But there are things like that you can do. But like the thought, if you start thinking about what your last days, years, months could be, and you go into that sort of dark place, no, why would you want to put up with any of that? It's sad.
Like, I'll share my experience that really tipped me over on this. Every day I was, we did the first, like I did the month of radiation, chemo through the weekends as well. Finally got through that, ring the bell at the end. Great moment, so happy. Now I get a month off, and then we start the rounds of temozolomide cycles 5 and 23 like you were doing. And I had just finally stopped having all the side effects. I was having for me, I got every side effect in the book from everything. So I had the fatigue, and when people with cancer say fatigue, they're not talking about I had a hard day at work, okay? It's the kind of fatigue, it doesn't matter how much you sleep, it doesn't go away, it doesn't help. You're just exhausted. It comes with muscle weakness, mental fog. It's hard to think about more than one thing at a time. It's hard to follow a long conversation. Like it's this whole new level of fatigue I never knew existed. And so I had that going on with all these muscle spasms in my hand and feet all day long. I'd wake up in the middle of the night with muscle spasms in my legs, have to jump out of bed and stretch my legs or wrap a heating pad around them. And so it was just every day I'd look at Lisa and say, I just want today to end.
Yep.
And hopefully tomorrow's a little better. And I just got to the point where I realized I was saying that every single day. And then I got my month off and all the symptoms went away finally. And because I had a seizure, because I had pneumonia, we actually had to delay the chemo an extra few weeks. So by the time I started it, all the side effects were gone. And so as soon as I took that first dose of temozolomide, which was now twice as much as I was taking during the radiation, all the symptoms came back, which was interesting because at the time I thought they were caused by the radiation and the steroids. But at that moment, I realized it was a temozolomide. And then 2 days later, I had a seizure after restarting temozolomide. So obviously that, going back on, I had my first seizure a few days after starting temozolomide, and then again. So so I had that rare side effect going with that, and so and then I had one of the other things with temozolomide, not to gross people out, but constipation can be on a whole other level. It is literally like cement. Like it's terrible. So you want to absolutely, if you're going to err on the side of too much laxative.
Yes.
You're way better off with too much laxative than you are not enough. Trust me. And so I'm on the phone with our oncology nurse, because when you call the oncology team, you always talk to the nurse, and then she'll go talk to the doctors, and either her or the doctor will call you back, tell you what to do. So I'm on the phone with her, and she's like, well, you know, the Senecot, I want you to start taking double up what you take. And for some reason, that just hit me. I'm like, no matter what the problem, the answer is always increase a med or going on another med. And I have a med list of 21 meds right now that I'm on. And I'm like, why am I doing this? My quality of life stinks. I can't go watch my kid play basketball. I can't even just shoot hoops, stand there and shoot hoops with the guy. You know, why am I doing this? Like, what am I taking chemo for? What am I trying to extend here? Like, just my suffering? So that's that one thing about, such a small thing, go take more laxative. I was like, no, this is always the answer I get. Take more, take something, add something new. You know, so you end up getting taking dexamethasone created edema, which put me on water pills, which made me vulnerable to pneumonia. Now I ended up with pneumonia. I had to take a bunch of stuff to get rid of the pneumonia. So you end up just in this huge cycle where your medications look like we have bags and bags of medication right now. It's just crazy. And
your liver has to
I'm
get
off
through
a lot
all
of it now.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so it can really go one way. And as far as, I'm so glad you were able to get off the steroids. There's such a mixed thing. Dexamethasone at first, it's a wonder drug. You take it, you just feel so much better. It's like that tumor's not even there. All the swelling's gone in my head. But after a few months, man, you really see the real side of it. So, and you start, you get the thin skin and all these weird effects, right? So, like, I can see my knuckles right through my skin when I do this. That's part of it. I mean, there's so much that
people need
goes
to
on.
know that.
Yeah. So, that to me, it's the side effects of the treatment. And the radiation, the one thing I'll warn people about is the side effects from the brain radiation can show up 6 months, a year, 2 years later.
Really?
So just because you've had good 4 months after your treatment, they can still show up, like brain necrosis and all that. I found out can still show up 6 months, a year later. And almost every cancer drug, the scariest side effect, you'll read it I know you like to not know. So maybe you want to plug your ears, but all of them say a possible side effect is other cancers.
Yes, well, I know that. I've heard that.
Yeah. So,
and it was one of those ones where it's so outrageous that I just thought, yeah, that'll be right. Like, it's too much. I can't get depressed about it. Like, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it just loads up. So,
where
are we on our list? I feel like I went on a little longer, so
no, that was good.
Go to pick.
Why are we YouTubing our cancer journey?
Pardon me?
Why are we YouTubing our cancer journey?
I was already on YouTube. I had atrial fibrillation, which I put into remission through some supplements, exercise and diet routine. Basically I lost like 108 pounds in 5 months. I went from, a big, heavy, chubby guy who power lifted. And my attitude at the time was weight, move weight. I'm in the unlimited weight class, so who gives a crap? And so I took the weight off, and I managed to, I had this theory that if I did like a lot of really low intensity, steady state, so if I was jogging at a heart rate of around 110, where most people try to be at 120, 130, and just gave my heart practice beating in normal rhythm, but having to do a bit of work. And if I did a lot of that, because I know the electrical pathways, they can carve new pathways through your heart, and they'll follow those pathways. So I thought, well, I'm going to spend a lot of time working my heart when it's in the good rhythm and carve those pathways. And so that's how I thought about it mentally. And so with people with atrial fibrillation, it's a disease, like it's a condition that comes packaged with anxiety. Everyone with it has anxiety because you have a jack in the box for a heart. You never know when it's going to go off, right? So I determined to build an online YouTube community about that. I've been pretty successful. Big Northern Bear battles atrial AFib if you look for it. And it's been, I was already monetized, with a couple of thousand subscribers when this happened. So of course I was at the hospital, did a quick live stream sharing my diagnosis with everyone. And I thought this has to go on its own channel.
Yeah.
Like it's too different. So I was already putting it all out there at the time. How about yourself?
Well, I wasn't on YouTube. I wasn't on any social media. And I had my surgery, and I was in that break between the surgery and that first lot of treatment. And my very first video was a one take, if you want to check that out. And I just thought, I have to put this online as I'm doing it, not like, oh, I went through this 6 months ago and this is what happened. And I think my bad memory, which I've always had, actually helped me in this, because I thought, I'm not going to remember how much I truly went through unless I do it live. So it was sort of for me, and but it was for other people as well. And I kind of am proud of myself, because I didn't know what I'd be in for. I didn't know if one video would be me like nearly dead, or like, but I just thought I have to do it. I don't know where that came from. So, and it was a hard road. One of the hardest things was just working out the technology. I mean, my husband's been amazing, but I'm not good at being told what to do. So with the technology, he was really good and wanted to be like the best. With the captions and the lighting and the sound and all of that sort of thing. And at the best of times, I'm pretty like, I'll just do it. I'll just can you just do it for me, or I'll just do it this way. But anyway, I'm pretty happy with the fact that I have continued on with it. I imagine I still will. And it's given me more than something to do. It's given me a connection with both people I've never met, like yourself, and even sort of people I knew, like relatives who I haven't had in, just haven't seen or talked to for decades, have reconnected through the channel and watched it, and I've gotten a lot out of that. And I'm organising a family reunion for one side of my family coming up next in a few weeks, and I've done that myself, which I would never do. And I just think a lot of good things have come out of it. So yeah, you've spoken about why you did it. So anyway, I think it's a good thing, and I am so grateful to have met you and a few other people I've met. But I think you're the highlight in terms of the YouTube channel, and just learning about not just the technology of what we're doing now, but also even today you've told me stuff about astrocytomas that I didn't know, because you're a numbers guy and a figures guy, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever mentioned it, but my first career, I was a nurse, which helps.
Yeah, you did say
so
that.
I know the terminology at least.
Yeah.
It's been a long time, but there's no way I could go practice today. I would just look stupid. But at least understand the terminology, and I do understand what it's like to care for people. And sort of on that side of the fence. And I feel that where that's helped me most is being able to self-advocate, because I can see it from their side of the desk. I feel that's what's helped me the most. So, yeah, the one thing I hate about YouTube, if there's a thing I really hate about it, because I do watch, I mean, I watch your videos, which made YouTube suggest other brain tumor folks. And then I start watching their video and I look down, I see the video was posted 4 years ago. So I go look, do they have any recent videos? No, their last video was 3 years ago. So I call them dead channels. I don't know if the person's around, but it's so demoralizing every time. Oh, great, I found a new person. Oh, they haven't posted in 3 years. Like, what happened? And there's there's nothing there in their community tab saying this is so and so's wife. It's no longer with us. Like, you just don't know. It's just so sad. And because of the way that YouTube works is it just keeps feeding you these similar topics, right? Like you said, you go down that rabbit hole. Go watch 3 carnivore diet videos, and you get fed a steady diet of them going forward. Like, that's the way it works, right? So,
well, that's true. I didn't think of that. It's important that we keep posting. Even there's sometimes where you've gone through something bad and then I don't see a video for a few weeks and I'm like, I hope he's okay. I mean, luckily now we're in communication, so I can just text you. But that regularity is really good. Really good.
I try to due to lack of energy, I've been avoiding anything I have to edit.
Yeah.
So I would just sit and I would just talk. If I talk for 10 minutes, I would just upload it raw the way it was. And actually on YouTube, I find people, they appreciate that. They like the authentic nature of that. But I've been avoiding, this is going to be like the first thing that I'll do some editing on in quite some time. Mostly to split it into 2 parts in an elegant way so that we can each have, half on our channels. But, and possibly
can I just say,
local isolation.
We haven't edited yet, and I think we're having a good conversation. It's just really natural. I like
editing is the most time-consuming thing.
I know.
Yeah, for every minute of filming, you'll probably do an hour editing, especially when you're new.
Yeah. I know it is demoralizing for someone like me because I'm like, I just need to get this out there, move on. That's why I do a lot of my videos just walking around while I'm walking in the, near the lake or the river or whatever. Because I'm like, I'm not going to put any sort of clickbait writing on it or anything. I don't know how to do it. I could probably work it out. It'll take me 3 weeks. That's 3 weeks too late. So, yeah, I understand.
I would say most of my favorite YouTubers are all one-take people. They just get on and say what they mean to say that day. And they have a background like me or, they do the minimal. They just say it and they get it out. And I'm happy for that. I mean, I'm 54 now. I don't need the eye candy. I just want to hear the authentic, just tell me the news or tell me the information I came to your channel to get. I'm just happy to get that, So Well, my very first video was one take, and I'll just do this last story for you. But I was sitting where I am now, and I decided I wanted to do a YouTube channel. So I didn't know what that would mean. So Jason just set me up with stuff, and he was going to take my mother out to the lake. So they're out in the car, and he was just showing her how to drive his car and stuff like that. And I walk out and Jason says, what's going on? I said, I'm done. He said, what? And I said, I did one take and that's it. And he goes, oh, okay. And he didn't really believe it, I think, but it is a good one. I'm proud of it. I'm wearing this exact top. So yes, it's, I agree with you. And I think I have gotten a bit better, but I don't want to get slick. I don't want to get like, oh, wow, she's got these really great graphics. I don't really, that's not what I'm here for. Right. Right. No, I mean, with my AFib channel, I have 151 videos I've made, and all of them I've edited. And so, I've learned a new technique. So naturally, I want to put it in the next video. And so a lot of them have a lot of fancy crap that may not need to be there. But with this channel, I haven't felt the real need to do that, because one, the topic's a little more serious, and the consequences are greater. So, and really, the fact that I'm going through treatment when I was posting some videos, just don't have the energy. I mean, the energy, like when you're doing treatment, you don't budget your time. You don't budget around your available time. You budget around your available energy.
Yes.
Right. It's like, and I do work full time from home. So if at the end of the day, I don't have the energy to go edit a YouTube video, but people want to hear how I'm doing. So I can spend 20 minutes just talking to my phone and put it up. So I think we've covered that topic, why we're on YouTube. But Jane, I want to say right now, I'm really glad I ran into you on YouTube.
Yes.
I'm really happy for our friendship. And I thank you so much for it. It means a lot when I hear you check in on text message with me. And
same.
Yeah, I'm really glad. Shane, there's such a huge time difference, 14 hours between us. Right?
Yeah. So right now here it is 8:30 a.m. What time is it with you?
It is 6:30 p.m.
Right, yeah.
And it's
the day
6:30 p.m.
me.
Saturday.
Yeah, and I'm 8:30 a.m. Sunday. So
there you go.
But we make it work.
Shortly?
You asked me if I'm going to church.
Are you going to church shortly?
I don't. Sure.
Sure. Okay. You're allowed to lie to me. You just can't lie to God.
I did lie to you, and I felt fine about it.
Yeah. So, I want to talk about journaling, and besides YouTube, if you do any journaling.
Before my cancer, I spent many years writing. So I was trying to write a book. I actually worked in a bookshop, but that was just a side. Well, that was my actual paid job. But yeah, so I do write, but journaling, no, that was fiction I was trying to write. But the thing is that I also have many pages of diary that I write, because that's where I can put my unfiltered thoughts. And I find that when I'm writing unfiltered stuff that no one will see, I am actually, I like to reread those, because I get a lot out of my own unfiltered thoughts. It's like I can't really know myself until I'm reading my thoughts back to myself. Isn't that weird? So yeah, no, I don't do journaling as such. Do you do journaling?
Yeah, you know what? I'm a big fan of it, because at first I was doing it because, remember I said I just want today to end?
Yeah.
So I would have it after dinner. I would sit and do some journaling, because it just made the time go by till I could go to sleep, because I never wanted to go to sleep too early or too late. And so I always have these routines after dinner I do. And then I found this journal that I just love.
Oh, yeah.
Because it has a lot of humor throughout the pages. And so one of the things I like to do is I like to use the checklist feature in it. And so whatever is important for me at that moment in my life as a daily habit, sorry, it's hard with the AI background. You can see the checklist. I check off each. So if I'm trying to lose weight, did I weigh myself in the morning? First thing, check. Did I check my blood sugar when I woke up? Check. Right? Like just all these things. So it's sort of a self-accountability thing. And then because I'm just stupid about it, I have on my phone, I have my Apple Journal, and I made my own phone app using Google Forms. So every night I'll go in and what's your steroid dose today? How's your happiness out of 10? And I'll just fill it all in on this phone app that I made, right? And stuff like, how is your typing ability? Because I mean, I type for a living, right, at work. So I just started logging it. And did you go on a new medication today? So every night I can literally fill this in like 3 minutes. And then I've got this empirical record to show my doctors I can just print out the spreadsheet and we can go through and see how.
Yeah.
So I'm very much
Well,
into
actually,
journaling, but I've sort of gone overboard. But
well,
it keeps me busy and keeps me sharp. So
yeah, that's important. I am really scrappy with mine, but I keep an uptight food journal, and all I put in it, it's really basic. It's just handwritten in tiny little pads, is what I eat, when I eat it, my GKI if I do it, when I go to the gym, if I go for a big walk, really just lifestyle stuff. It's like could be used for future, like for instance, if I suddenly had a seizure, I could go back and go, I could look back at the day before or something, and I might see something that I would never remember,
right.
unless I'd written it down. So someone could use it for future research on me. And I don't know, probably never see the light of day, but I just, it's like 2 minutes a day, but I fill it out as I go during the day, if I can, or if I get to the night and go, I didn't fill it out at all. It's only one day I can kind of remember basically what I did and when I did it. And because I like to fit in certain intermittent fasts in my sort of keto therapeutic plan, I get to see, I last ate at 6:15 last night. It's now 10 in the morning, and then I can work out how long I haven't eaten for. It's very boring, but it's just, yeah, it is what I actually do. I wouldn't call it journaling, but yeah.
Well, I mean, with the keto, the back to, it's always seemed to be back to keto for cancer.
Sorry.
But I mean, the one thing I've never heard all these experts say, including Dr. Thomas Seyfried, is that if most people with brain cancer, you're on dexamethasone.
Right.
And you could be on a low dose or a high dose. If you're on a high dose, keto is probably a crappy choice to be on, because honestly, high dose dexamethasone prevents fat metabolism. And the whole keto diet is you're metabolizing fat instead of carbohydrates. So I ended up in this very energy starved state where I could barely walk. And I was going through my my journal and trying to figure out why 3 days ago I could get on my treadmill and do 3 miles an hour, no problem. And today I can only do 0.8 miles an hour. So energy starved and so fatigued. And I thought it was my drugs. And I'm doing the P sticks and there's no ketones showing up at all. And I'm literally at 85% of calories from fat. And so I talked to someone and said, you know what? It's probably the steroids preventing it from working. So I went and carved up, and the next day felt a million times better, just carved up. And honestly, I just hit that point again today, like literally today. I've been doing so well, but my DAX is at 6 milligrams again. It's had to go back up because of recent events. And I was doing good for like 3 weeks, and I was getting moderate to trace ketones. And now I'm not even getting trace, and my energy just started sapping. So I'm like, pride out the window. I would love to say I'm really good with my keto diet but you know what? So I had a couple of cookies and now I have energy for this call. So sometimes, I mean, there's no one size fits all, but I have never heard any of these online experts address the fact that, hey, you know what? Like probably 50% of brain cancer patients, or 100%, at least at some time, you're on dexamethasone. Yeah. And if you're at a high dose, like I've never heard one of them warn, if you're on a high dose of corticosteroids, you might actually be doing more harm than good from that diet. So I'm putting it out there now for those people.
That's good.
So again,
I didn't know that. That's good.
You just have to really be flexible and open to, admit it. Like if you're on a diet, you should feel great. It should be making you feel better. And if you're feeling worse every day, don't just assume it's a med. Maybe try a different diet for a few days. I mean, just go with that, or a different exercise routine, or go to bed an hour earlier, see what kind of difference that makes,
Yeah.
So so that's one thing I learned the hard way. And so I was feeling that energy sapping from me again today. Because yesterday I literally had the best day ever. I worked 8 hours. I was up till 11 at night, and we were having fun. Me and the wife, we were joking around, and I just had the best energy day I've had in a long time. And then I went to bed last night and I had the best sleep I've had in a long time. And then all day long I was exhausted. I'm like, why am I exhausted? And I'm testing and there's like no ketones. And I'm like, so what? I haven't had carbs in like 3 weeks. So what is my brain being fueled on right now? Nothing.
Yes.
So I just went and had a couple of cookies and a bit of pasta, small bowl of pasta for dinner. And now you can see I have energy again.
Yes.
So
yep.
Pride goeth before the fall, right?
Yes, so, exactly.
Yeah. So
that's why I every time I hear the word keto out of my mouth, I think that. Shut up, Jane.
There are certain things that will. I mean, even if it's not for cancer, if you're on certain drugs, if you're doing it just to lose weight, I mean, there's certain drugs that will make it backfire. So at least be aware of that, So and that's never talked about in like the online keto community.
No.
They just never talk about it. So you don't want to find out the hard way. So
that's why we're doing this.
Comforts.
About my what?
Sorry. Finish up what you were going to say.
Oh no, I was just going to say that's why we're doing this, because you're not going to get this information on a random keto video. This is very specific to cancer and your cancer in particular.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So you're going to ask me about my comforts. I put that.
Yeah,
there.
comforts is. I think you added it to the list. So
I did. What did I mean by that? Things that comfort me. The idea that I have and never have had actually any control over my life, that it's not up to me. That's a comfort. Call it God or whatever you want to call it. But I think it might be some sort of a higher power. What else comforts me? Oh, like it's really warm. I'm in Brisbane, Queensland. It's tropical climate, but there's been a little period of coldness, particularly in the nights. And so now I get excited about that because I get my doona out and I put it on the couch and I watch TV or YouTube. And that's like a comfort. It's like, I can't explain it. It's just a real comfort. Coffee with my husband in our favorite cafe. Yeah. Like the whole combination of that. It's stuff to look forward to. Like that. I think sometimes the looking forward to is better than the experiencing of it. Jason and I share interests in certain YouTubers, like even like at the moment there's downhill mountain biking, the international competitions, and tonight we've got the men's finalists to watch, and sitting on the couch under my doona watching that with Jason is it's a real comfort. It makes me feel alive. I think anything that makes me feel truly alive, and it can be a moment or it can be something big that you look forward to. And it's not necessarily traveling overseas or doing anything fancy or expensive, but it's just these small things. And there's certain people that comfort me. I've got a few people in my life where if I see their text come through or I see they're calling me, I get this sort of release of comfort. Yeah. What about you?
Well, I guess the first thing that's really been wonderful is on both my channels, all the supportive comments and love I get. Like really, I just get people, and when they tell me where they're from, I love that even more. This is Jim from the Philippines, and I'm from the UK, I'm from Australia. I just love that when someone says, I'm praying for you. My mom went through this, and wishing you the best from London. I just love that when I get that from all over the world. And I also love it when someone puts a comment, says, I've just been diagnosed with something like this. or I'm trying to make a similar decision to you about walking away from chemo. And
Yeah.
I'll usually reply, email me if you want to talk, and I'll talk to you. But no one's taken me up on it yet. But I had a family member, though, take me up on it who has cancer. But no one in my audience. But if you're watching and like I made the decision to walk away from chemo and walk away from cancer treatment. So, I mean, I had very few negative comments about that. And I think a big part of that is everyone thinks they know a better cure for cancer than the pharmaceutical companies. So of course they're like, yeah, that's right. And I get it. I can understand why you think that way. But like when you're actually faced with a choice, it's you can see it totally differently, right? But so that's been a big comfort. Another big comfort is like I just never knew how lucky I was to have Lisa. Like the kind of person who is, I mean, we'd gotten engaged about 2 years before this, so we're actually not even married, right? And you know, but we've lived together for long enough that we're pretty much man and wife. But there would be, I tell her all the time, if I was with my ex, she would have been gone the first day. You know, Lisa's just been there every step of the way, advocating for me, worrying about me, maybe more than I worry about myself, and like just so supportive. And like you've talked to her, you see how nice and sweet she is, and she's my biggest comfort, my most grateful thing. And my little dog Frankie, especially when I was going through and so exhausted, he would always come sit in my lap all day long. He loved curling up in my lap. And the poor little guy, when I had my first seizure and the ambulance came and took me out, he got traumatized. So now whenever I get up suddenly and walk towards the door, he just freaks out and barks because you know, suddenly I was gone for a week and then I was back. And I mean, so he actually had he's just starting to get over it now. So the poor little guy, you know. So I mean, the thing that surprised me, I'm going on a tangent again, I do a lot of that, is that the people I thought that would be there for me weren't. And the people I never expected it from turned out to be the ones that are. You know, and my brother and I, we have a long history of not getting along and even going years without talking. But when I got that diagnosis, man, he drove an hour to spend all day at the hospital with me. And he spent the whole day with me, and he's been there for me. And when Lisa's had to go away, he'll drive halfway and meet us halfway. I'll go stay at his house. He even gives up his bed so that I can be more comfortable on there. Like I'm just so amazed. I like just how wonderful he's been. I never expected it from him. But really he's a rock in my life. So I'm so grateful for that. So that's my comfort list right now.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. And if I had to get cancer to learn all that, it to me is a worthy trade-off. So.
Oh yes, isn't that weird? That I think they're good. It's a good trade-off. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of this stuff that we've been talking about would have happened without both of us getting a cancer diagnosis and the same, kind of cancer.
Right. Yeah, at least the same cancer family, let's say.
Family, yeah.
And we've both experienced, we've both have to make the same life choices.
Yes, very much.
I mean, the caregiver is probably the only non-cancer patient that probably understands it nearly as well as you do. You know, like I have my little avatar story. I talk about that. My AFibers hear it all the time, but when you talk to someone else who has similar cancer or even a different cancer and they're going through similar treatments, I mean, you just get each other. You just really, there's like an instant bond, and you just truly understand each other. And you can't really get that anywhere else. I mean, I'm sure alcoholics get that at AA meetings and that sort of stuff, right? So I'm so grateful for my friendship with you. I have another friend, Terry Tucker, who's a motivational speaker. He's lost the legs to cancer, and he's still getting treated for cancer. And so he was the first guy I reached out to. And I'm so grateful. We text all the time and talk all the time. So, I mean, YouTube's been wonderful that way.
Yes. Yes. And my cancer support group is wonderful. And the woman who's a mover and a shaker in there, Pam Hubner, she lost her daughter. I think her daughter was like in her early 40s. Her daughter had 3 children, and she lost her daughter to cancer. And she said that this is her job now to find out why her daughter died. And she's been wonderful. She's always there on the text, on the phone call, and she's very kind. And she's given me a lot as well. But yeah.
Yeah, Sorry, please continue.
I can't even remember what I was going to say.
Okay. I want to say hi to Matthew's mom right now, because she was one of the first persons to comment that really grabbed my attention when I went public with my diagnosis. Because her son, because I told you my cancer is super rare, so she had a son named Matthew who got the tumor as a child. And so Matthew grew up and way outlived his prognosis, but eventually, had a few times they removed it. Went through college, university, had a wife and children when it finally got the better of him. And so her advice to me was they were scanning every 3 months, and at some point they went to once a year. And that's when they found it, and he died. By the time they found it, it was really big. So never let them go to once a year, she said. Make them stick to 3 months. Because it can't, like, our cancers can be astrocytomas now. Yes. And when they grow back, they can be glioblastoma, which is the worst one. That's what happened to him. Okay. So Matthew's mom, I know you watch all the time. I love you, and I thank you for that advice. I always remember it. And Matthew sounded like a wonderful child. I'm glad he got to live through his childhood and see children of his own. So,
well, I'd like to thank Matthew's mum as well, because I've been looking forward to getting to the 6-month period between MRIs, and now I'm like, that may not be such a good idea. And also, I just learned that MRIs aren't actual radiation. So that's magnetic. Yeah. So thanks, Matthew's mum.
Yeah, the contrast is radioactive, I think, if you get the contrast.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that pushes through pretty quick. So it's nothing like the radiation therapy, but again, everything's a trade-off. Do you actually want to see what's going on? Then you need the contrast, right? So
yes.
Yeah.
Can we finish on that? Everything's a trade-off.
Yeah.
We don't have to. I just like that line. I like that line.
Yeah, it's all a trade-off. I mean, there's no surefire way to win this war. You know? So how are you feeling? Do you want to go on about any more topics, or shall we do another collab in the future?
I think we should. For however long away you want to do it. But I think this has been great, and I hope people get something out of it. And I feel like we've talked a long time, but I don't think a minute has been a waste of time or filler or anything. This has been great, Danny. And the first time I spoke to you, when I was talking to you with Lisa, was fantastic as well. I think we've got a connection. I like it.
Yeah.